It is Saturday night again, and for some of you, it's Sunday, which means it is the second. Happy Every Second Matters. Uh, and I'm DM Foss, and tonight so far we have the lovely Gizzard Gary. How's it going, Gary?
Good morning.
So we'll see if anybody else joins us here in a little bit. Hopefully. Not that Gary is not enough, but it's always a little better with more.
Yeah.
Uh, I went down today to the gun shop to do the 4473 on I bought a SIG FCU. There's a picture on the community tab on my channel of a grip frame, and I figured I'd post a picture every time I put a new part on it. So kind of slowly do that. But so I went down to do the 4473, and I ended up doing something incredibly stupid because the SIG that I'm putting together is basically an expensive art project, and I bought another FCU. So while I was there, they brought it out from the back, and one of the guys working at the shop, he goes, "Do you want another one?" Well, is it free? He goes, "No, it's not free." Yeah. And he goes, so I asked him, "Well, how much?" And it was $50. It was a consignment, and it was $50 off, basically. So I swore, and then I bought it. So I am doing two incredibly expensive art projects. For I was just doing a SIG because it's something I hadn't done before, and I figured I could put together kind of a bougie gun and just as a project, because I hadn't done it before, and then so I guess I'm doing two of them now, so I've doubled my expense.
Well,
Which
good.
go ahead.
I said, well, good for you.
I actually had bought two grip frames, so I have a grip frame for that other one. Uh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're putting together based on that picture. So.
Yeah, that is the X carry frame. And then I also have an X10 frame, which is for the 45 or 10, which I'll probably do a 10.
Mine's an X compact.
I really do like the feel of the frame. It's it's a full size, but it feels a lot like the like Glock 20, which which I enjoy. So I don't know. We'll slowly put this together for
Yeah.
the coming months.
I spent an extra, I think it was $75 to buy the smaller size frame, and it made a huge difference in my ability to grip it and stuff like that. So.
G Webs, how you doing today?
Great, Amelia. Thanks for hosting.
Thanks for being here. So I can go pick those up on Valentine's Day because we have a 10-day wait period
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we're extra safe, even though I already have a few guns. Yeah. And for Washington State, there's three bills that have made it out of committee, three anti-gun bills. One is a safe storage law, which increases the safety of your storage, puts more mandates on storing your guns.
Mm-hmm.
A purchase permit, so you have to have to have a background check in order to have the background check when you buy the gun. And then there's a ammunition limit per month. It's like 1,000 rounds a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are, I think Wednesday. There's going to be a hearing for those Wednesday. So well, I want to go down, but I don't know if I can. I'll at least watch it on. Washington State has a channel for state hearings and stuff. So I'll watch that. And maybe I'll clip some of the hearings, some of the testimonies, and we can watch them. But yeah. Is Texas covered by the Fifth Circuit? I can never remember who's covered by which circuit.
Not sure.
I'm pretty sure.
But they ruled that 18 to 21s are allowed to buy handguns. So the banning them, putting a 21 age limit was ruled unconstitutional by whichever circuit that is.
Yeah, it is fifth.
Yeah. 10th is Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, like that group. But then kind of under it is the 5th with just Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Meanwhile, the 9th is like the entire West Coast and Montana, Idaho, Nevada, and Arizona.
I think the 9th is the largest.
Yeah, by population and size, probably.
Let me say a quick hello to everybody that's out there. G23 was first with a double thumbs up. Gizzard Gary.
Where is he now?
Who, G23?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gizzard's in the 10th. I'm in the 9th. You're in the 9th.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were saying he moved or something. G23 is in the 9th. He's in Oregon.
Oh, I thought he moved.
I don't know. I hadn't heard. He didn't tell me. As last I knew, he was in the 9th. So Mr. Bob Davalina. Mr. Davalina. Mr. Bob Davalina.
Where's he?
I think he's East Coast.
Mr. Bob, I believe, is in the St. Louis area.
So that would be 8th Circuit Court.
DJ, he's Nebraska.
That makes him 8th.
Vulcan Rumble, he's East Coast. He's way up northeast. I think he is.
So then that's hard to know because the first is just Maine and Vermont. I mean, Maine and New Hampshire and Massachusetts up there, maybe Rhode Island, I guess. And then the second is New York and Rhode Island and Connecticut. No, just New York and Connecticut. Rhode Island is the first. So anyway, it's kind of tough to know without knowing the state.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy is in the 7th with Miss Wisconsin, Indiana, and Illinois are the 7th.
And
I don't think I've ever heard anything about the 7th Circuit Court. I've heard the 5th all the time and the 9th quite a bit, but you hardly ever hear about the others.
Garage Guy, I think he's mid-south or south.
4th or 11th then?
I'd have to, I don't know, I've got all my addresses on the other computers, so I can't tell you which state. And is that everybody that said hello? Then the Saint. I don't remember where the Saint is. That's everybody who said hello so far. Good evening, good evening. Let me go Vulcan Rumble said P320 X carry 3.6 nitrite. I'm gonna do a 40. So X carry 40, and I think they're 3.9-inch barrels on the full size X carry. And then I want one of the slides with all the fancy cuts in it, with the holes. Maybe a comp, I don't know.
Might as well.
Well, you're definitely compensating for something.
I think so. Garage Guy said Virginia. He's in Virginia.
That makes it number 4, which is Maryland, both of the Virginias, both of the Carolinas. And maybe Delaware. No, Delaware's the 3rd. I'm assuming that these things were made by population at some point back when nobody lived in the West, because like 2 states or a whole circuit court back east, like 2-3 states, and it's like Pennsylvania and New Jersey. How many people could possibly live in Pennsylvania and New Jersey? Pennsylvania and New Jersey fit into like completely into just about every state out here, with lots of room left over depending on which state you cram them into. But most of the circuit courts are as big as like Nevada and Arizona, or like California. So they're pretty small compared to the 9th. So it's probably why the 9th gets so much talk, because it's covering so many people. I think, it's probably the biggest Supreme Court, right?
I think I've heard that, where it's the largest circuit court. And it
has to be. I think they'd probably need to chop it into like 4 pieces to get it to be comparable to the size, of the ones back east.
And it's one of the most overturned. That I don't know if that's because there's so many. It's so large and there's so many rulings.
Seriously, and then look at the crazy laws that happen in California, Oregon, Washington compared to the rest of the country. Like, besides guns, you guys also have some weird laws. So. Or maybe some people would say cutting edge laws, but y'all do stuff first, a lot of stuff first. So I could see it being controversial and, I don't know, probably just controversial.
I just saw there's a proposal, a bill for repeat speeders, egregious speeders, to add a speed limiter to their cars. Kind of like the drunk driver breathalyzer thing that they have to get, and it would work off GPS to limit their speed. My first thought was, well, what if they just drive another car? I don't know. I don't like the idea of it.
The idea of monitoring people that have proven they don't obey the law?
Yeah. Well,
just put a thing on their ankle or whatever, and then it's if they move so fast.
Why not just place a person in everybody's car, and then you can make sure that nobody speeds. Checkpoints every 10 miles limits your ability to speed. Speed bumps on the highway. I just don't. I don't like the idea of it. Yeah, I think enforcement. If these are repeats, I don't know. Because if you take their license away, they can still drive. And then
drunk drivers or
no, just speeders. People that speed. The examples they were given, but it's like repeat speeders that are doing like 50 over the speed limit. Which
put an ankle thing on them. And then if they start going over 50 miles an hour, they're going to jail. And then it doesn't matter what car. If they're sitting in a car that's going that fast, they're still going to jail.
I would be a little more okay with that, I guess.
But I don't know. Speeding is one of those things where, it's a big deal in probably, I don't know, Connecticut or something, where I feel like there's probably people walking across the streets all the time, versus Montana, where you could drive for an hour and not see another person. There's probably, in my opinion, there's differences on speeding, how big a deal it is.
The Saints said street racers. That was one of the examples. There was a 18-year-old that had wrecked, that was speeding and killed somebody.
Like out here, we've got places where like they were gonna make, let's say like a new housing area, so they laid down roads and curbs and stuff, or maybe just roads, and then they never finished it, so they just left it, and it's just sitting out there, some roads in the desert on the edge of town kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the kids will go out there and race their little, hot rod cars, not hot rods anymore, but like souped up Japanese cars probably, and then their version of a hot rod nowadays, and they'll go out there and race them. I don't know how often they wreck, but they must wreck half the time because they're kids. So stuff like that, like how do you stop that? Because they go out there and do it all the time, and they use the internets now to make their little flash mobs. They'll show up, they figure out where they're going to show up, they show up and have their little race, and then they leave. So that's real tough for the cops to deal with.
Yeah, I don't know what the best solution is. Mr. Bob said rice rockets.
During the war, they said they would take, because they didn't have coffee in the Pacific, they would take rice and brown it and then steep that. Would you eat coffee water made out of rice?
I don't know. During the war in Japan, because they were losing, with they put out pamphlets in Japan, the Japanese government, on the nutritional value of sawdust. That's how bad off they were. Would you eat
And the
sawdust?
thing is, you could probably eat quite a bit of sawdust before, you know what I mean? Like it's a filler, but it's not going to kill you. So you could probably eat quite a bit of it, even though it's not helping you, like just to feel full, even though it's not helping.
DJ said like roasted buckwheat tea.
Oh yeah, that's probably the same kind of thing, right? I imagine if you did it right, it would be all right.
Ozzy said ban motors over 4 cylinders. That's un-American.
Well, if it's 4 tiny cylinders, they're illegal. 4 regular size cylinders is okay. If it's a millimeter cylinder, it's illegal.
When we had, my wife had a Civic, a 2005 Civic, and it's a 1.8 liter. And I realized that's less than a 2-liter bottle of soda. It was, I think it put out like 85, 90 horsepower, something like that.
2-liter bottle of soda in the carburetor, that's a lot of gas.
Well, the
What does
display.
that measure? Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, what is that measuring? Like per minute or something?
No, the volume of the cylinders.
Oh, I see. They do it by how much room is in the cylinders.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's,
How much is in the V8?
Well, it depends on the V8. Like a 351, that's 351 cubic inches.
Oh, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, 5.7 liters for a 350.
Oh, okay. So that's my vehicle. Okay, I see what you're saying. So you've got 2 liters in yours, and I've got 5.7 liters in mine.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I have too many cylinders, probably. I have too many CCs.
No. Can you have
What I could do is fill 1 or 2 of my cylinders with concrete, and then that way they won't fill up with gas, and I'll save a lot of gas that way. Or maybe it's lighter to use that foam. I'll use that expanding foam sealant.
Let me hang on here a second. I'm going to email myself a picture so I can show you.
I was LOLing the size of the rear spoiler, because that's the determining factor on how fast those cars can go. What is today's bracket about, by the way?
No bracket. Bracket needs to rest. It was feeling a little under the weather, so.
If a bracket happens and no one's there to witness the bracket, did it even happen?
I don't know. You tell me. You weren't there to witness the last
Exactly. I don't even believe there was a bracket. It could have been an elaborate story that y'all came up with to act like there was a bracket. What proof is there ever that there was a bracket? That's all I'm saying.
Gary is my proof.
It's like the handed down stories generation to generation. You assume they're right, but you can never know.
Well, you know what happens when you assume, though.
Exactly.
Ooh. Ozzy said the bracket pulled a hammy. Yeah, he didn't stretch properly. That's what happens.
Yep.
Oh, come on.
I was driving back from Vegas last week, and I think that's what's happening, right? I was driving back from Vegas, and then I had drank a Monster Recovery, I think they're called, or Rehab, I forget what it was. So it was like a non-carbonated Monster with all the different caffeines that they have, but then also a bunch of electrolytes and stuff. And for whatever reason, that really made the trip like pleasant. Like I was awake, but I wasn't like freaking out with having too much caffeine or anything. But whenever I got towards the end of the trip there, I was like wide awake. I stopped at like 11 or whatever to see, because I thought, for some reason, I thought the show was starting at 11, probably because I was off an hour or whatever. And then you were like, oh, it starts in an hour. I was like, oh, okay. And in that hour, I went from like wide awake to like barely able to open my eyes anymore. So I got home and I just melted into the bed as soon as I got back. And that was right when the show was starting. So I almost got in here last week, but if I would have been an hour shifted, if I would have drank that Monster like an hour later.
It's the thing about those energy drinks is when you come off of them, you come off of them hard. Generally.
Fast, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, you just take an energy drink, or you drink an energy drink and mind your business that day, no big deal. But when you're driving, at least for me, like that's exhausting. Like that's the reason I drank it, is to stay awake. And then after, at least for me, like 6 or 8 hours over on the road, just paying that much attention and all that, like I just need to stop paying attention to shit, like in this case, fall asleep, but let my mind do something besides worry about the road.
Right.
How's it going, DJ?
The circuit court isn't allowing him to say anything.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. You got to use Google Chrome in this, whatever it's called, Exumi?
EV Mux. Not sure if it's Mux or Mux. I've heard it said both ways. I don't remember what they say.
Well, it has to be Mux. Wouldn't there have to be an E at the end to be Mooks?
That's what I say is Mux. So, gee whiz, I want your expert van opinion. Is this cool or not cool? Saw this at the Lowe's.
Is that an old Dodge or Chevy?
I think maybe Dodge.
Or Ford even. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely like them old ones. personally. I don't like passenger vans. Like that's I would call that a passenger van because of all the windows.
Yeah.
I personally like a cargo van so that they have less windows, but I could see having one of these for sure.
It was interesting. You don't see them very often.
Nah, and the parts would be probably hard to find at this point, but I mean that just looks like a fun van to drive around. Looks like it's probably pretty powerful too, because it's what a 70 something probably, maybe even a 60s. I don't know what year that is.
It's maybe 60s.
So it's probably got like a real engine in it.
It's probably might be a mid-engine. It's that old.
Is that where you're sitting? The engine is between the two people. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because that's you're sitting really far forward on that one.
And let me get rid of that. Today, when I was driving up to the gun shop, I don't have a picture of it because it was driving. Oops. It was on the opposite side of the highway. I saw one of the new VW vans.
Huh. I don't even think I've seen that one before.
But
so
it's
is the engine in the back on that one?
What's that?
Is the engine in the back on these or up front?
I think they're electric.
Oh shit! So it's underneath.
Yeah, it's the modern 5-window.
I mean, I'd probably take one if Volkswagen gave me one, but there's no way I'm buying one.
They're kind of funky. It's not my style, but
I could dig it, but it's there's no way I could afford it. That's the thing, and I'm not paying for that.
yeah, I'm not sure how much they are.
I don't know if DJ heard before, but try Google when you come in here. This streaming thing really likes the Google Chrome better than anything else, so I use the Google Chrome.
Oh, and it'll do one of the numbers. I think on VW they list 0 to 60 in 6 seconds in a van.
Well, the torque on electrics is
Yeah.
crazy, man. What is that? Your heater went on or something?
What's that?
Somebody's
Oh
heater
yeah,
went on?
the furnace kicked on.
That's the first time I've heard of that thing. You can definitely hear it now.
Well, that's it's cold enough where the heat pump can't generate enough heat, so the gas furnace is running right now to supplement it.
Oh, okay.
So usually it's just the fan that's running, but now the burners are on. X-Adam 1's out there. Said can and cool don't go together. Oh, cool and van don't go together. Oh no, he's picking a fight.
Yeah, vehicles are vehicles, so not everybody likes everything.
Vulcan
Just
Rumble
like
said
motorcycles for everybody, right?
Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maryland. Emmy is Maryland, isn't it?
Maine.
Maine. Maine.
Maryland is
Maryland.
Maryland is an MY?
MD.
Yeah, MD.
2020.
Which is annoying because then, or no, Montana is MO.
MT.
No, Missouri is MO. Montana is MN. M's are the worst states. They really.
Montana's MT, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, MN is probably Minnesota. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yes.
There's too many M states. They need to really rename a lot of those states into things with Z's and X's and things that could be by themselves.
But he's saying that's the First Circuit or all those ones. X-Atom, interesting, and van do go together. Saw a cool full-size van today with oversized tires, side ladder, top rack, grill, rugged beast. It sounded good. Probably one of those overlanders.
Yeah, those things are pretty cool. Just the problem with those, you can't blend in anywhere. Like everybody knows you're a camper.
Uh, yeah, I saw one of the one of those big.
Unimog.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was a Unimog, but it looked like a Unimog, and he has a website, uh, an overlanding website. So I sent him a message. Hey, I saw you here. Uh, pretty cool.
Like somebody that's got their website written on the side of their vehicle.
Yeah, it's like a bumper sticker. I think it might have been.
I don't know if it's the first time. One of the first times I remember seeing one that was all decked out, like in the wilds. Me and Bob back in 16 or 18. I can't remember what year it was, but we went to New Mexico to go to a gun show, and the gun show didn't happen. Like it got canceled. We got all the way out there, figured it out, and then we were looking for something to do, and there was a space museum. So we ended up going to this museum for like space, and in the parking lot was this Unimog that was all decked out, and it was pretty freaking cool. And I think that one had a boat either on top or on the back or something, and it was like, holy crap, like that thing could do everything. You could put motorcycles on them and stuff, and then even though it's huge, you got your little motorcycle to book around on. Make Chicago its own state. I don't know. We definitely have a different country if we chop some of the dumb cities off, made them their own states. Is that a real thing? Does anybody petition for that? Or is that just us thinking, people that appreciate the rest of the states that get bullied like that?
I haven't heard anything. Vulcan Rumble said land yacht is not camping. I will say it's a degree of camping. You've got people who hike out up in the mountains with a tent, and then people who go to the KOA, people who go to the state parks. They've got their little campsites at state park. I would consider it all camping, just different degrees of camping. As a kid, you put your tent up in your backyard. That's camping. You're outside, sleeping, having fun.
I could see calling it RVing and camping because if you're in a moving vehicle that can get to places, I could see somebody saying it's not camping anymore, but it's still not being in a house. Yeah, it all depends on who's going and what the plan of the trip is. Because if you're outside sleeping and you want to have like a campfire and have a good time and enjoy your time with your friends and stuff, then bringing a bunch of stuff to make it comfortable isn't taking it out of camping realm. Just because some people like to go out with like a knife and some, like a blanket and a knife and then figure out how to improvise everything else. Like, yeah, that's still camping, but it doesn't make it more camping, I don't think.
Colostomy Bag said there's only a few blue cities, but 85% of the landmass is red. And that's something I've thought about before. The large cities will kind of rule the state. And it's frustrating, but if you think of it just as population wise, that's, when you're voting, it's a larger population, but it's part of the population. It's not like one guy in the city controlling everything. It's everybody in the city. What generally speaking. So it is. I would still consider it a fair vote. It's just there's more people in that city as compared to rural. It's if you spread them out, the vote might come out different because it kind of dilutes their vote. But did any of that make any sense?
I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. Like the people in the city still deserve a vote or whatever, but the problem is they're out of touch with reality or something. Like just because you can get a bunch of people in the city saying like everybody in the country owes us money, and they'll be able to vote that because there's so many of them. But it doesn't make it right, and it doesn't mean that the people in the country all of a sudden have the money to give them, like to make that happen.
I saw a quote many years ago, and I don't remember who it was attributed to, and couldn't even tell you if it was real or not because I can't remember who it is, so I can't research it. But basically stating that once people realize they can vote themselves money, the country is in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Once they figure out they can vote out of somebody else's pocket, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
As he's saying, it's been like that for 15 years. I mean, I've heard of that back in the old days, but it was more like, haha, like kind of serious or whatever. But I could totally see it in a place like Illinois and a little bit in California. But there's so many people in California, it's hard to know what they want. But all the other states where there's just the one city, but Illinois specifically because the city's way on the one end, and people in the city probably never even been to the rest of Illinois. I'd say like 80% of Chicago's never even stepped foot out of Chicago.
I don't believe you'll ever see anything like that happen in any state because the state is not going to give up territory.
Yeah, no state wants to give up its biggest population hub, and no population hub can afford to get rid of all of its land. You know what I mean? Like the cities don't want to do that because they can't get rid of all that land. They desperately need it, even if they hate it. The other way around, though, the land, the rest of Illinois, you could give a shit about up to Chicago, I'm sure.
And DJ had mentioned camping versus glamping. I would still consider it camping. It's a bougie. You're not
really luxury though. I mean, I get what you're saying. If you've got a bed or whatever, and you've got like an air conditioner, when you get to like washer and dryer and television and stuff, like okay, now you're bringing along a lot of conveniences. You could call it glamping, but that glamping thing, I can think of that as like I've seen glamping where it's like all inflatable tents and like inflatable beds, and then they put up a table in there, and it's shitty camping, but it's very comfortable. But it's like it's just outside. It's more like, I mean, that's why they gave it its own word, right? It's not really camping because you've got so much support system that it's just ridiculous.
See, I read a story one time. It was Thomas Edison, and I believe was it the Vanderbilts or something like that went on these camping expeditions, and they would bring all their servants, and the servants would pack everything up in these huge tents, and they'd literally have gourmet meals out in the middle of nowhere. So glamping really isn't a new thing. I mean, the rich people did it hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. And you think of like even before that, like the Egyptian days or like Genghis Khan, that was happening too, right? Like they didn't care. They wanted what they wanted, where they wanted it.
Yep.
I'm thinking of a couple of like old westerns that shit probably happened back in the old days too. But that was more of a wealth thing than nowadays, where it's just, you don't really have to be super wealthy to be a glamper or whatever it's called.
Well, you get one of these big RVs and stuff like that, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, so not cheap.
No, yeah, I guess I was thinking more of like the fancy tent, but yeah, if you're talking one of them massive RV. The thing is, you can rent one of the massive RVs too. I think.
Oh, I imagine you can.
There's, yeah, the buses with the two air conditioners on the top. I saw one at it was at a private golf course, and on the back, I'm guessing it was a painted picture of a Learjet, and I forget. There's like a couple other things, and I would have guessed those are probably his other toys that he had painted on his large bus. There's even one that floats, so you can drive it onto a lake.
Wow.
An RV that's amphibious. I've seen a video
Yeah.
of that. Was the one in Stripes amphibious?
I don't remember.
Can't remember. Didn't it have a snorkel or something to drive it in the water? Or I might be conflating stuff. It's been a while since I watched
Might have had a periscope. Yeah. The Saint said glamping for me is dragging the couch on the front lawn. Ozzy said one cow, one lantern, problem solved,
Yep.
referring to Chicago.
Anybody know what the name of that cow was?
The lady was like Old Lady Leary.
O'Leary, I think.
O'Leary.
Sure. What the cow's name was. Aren't most cows named Bessie or something like that? Seems like.
I was thinking that that's why they call Bessie a cow, because of that cow, but I'm finding out. I know there's a museum for it.
I don't know if I've ever heard.
They know the cow.
Oh, now you woke up to Live Moo. Talking about cows out there.
No cow is more famous than Miss O'Leary's cow kicking over that lantern. I thought there was a name of that cow, though. Maybe I'm crazy. Or maybe I'm thinking of some cartoon where they just gave it a name.
Yeah, I've never heard a name for the cow.
I know where she lived. She had cows in her backyard and sold milk to the neighbors.
The name of Mrs. O'Leary's cow is unknown, but she is often referred to as Daisy, Madeline, or Gwendolyn.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is, it says she only had a couple of cows. She says in this article, it says she insists that the whole family was asleep when it happened, so they probably wouldn't know. But you would think, like, if they only had 8 cows or whatever, that they would know the names of the girl cows and they know it was a cow.
Oh, I've also heard that it might have been a drunk in the alley. Forget what the name of the guy was
Oh, really?
that started the fire.
I mean, I have no idea now where that story came from, but it's been around for a long time, Miss O'Leary's cow and everything. Maybe it was just a song or something, and everybody just assumed it was real because of the song.
Vulcan Rumble said, no, that was Damnation Alley, the RV that floats.
Oh,
Landmaster.
oh, speaking of old ass movies, do you know Soldier Systems? What that is?
No.
So Soldier Systems is a website it was one of the websites that I started doing my whole internet stuff from because I thought Soldier Systems was such a cool thing. And actually, I didn't. I was trying to compete with him because he was a blog, and I was like, this would be better in a website than a blog. Anyway, over the years, I've been a fan of their stuff. Anyway, now they're an Instagram feed also, and it's a guy who did quartermaster procurement type of stuff in the military during the 80s. So he's really into uniforms and camouflages and some nerd stuff and a lot of movie stuff. So he did a thing where he talked about every once in a while he'll find a cool old movie, or it's like the anniversary of a movie or something, and he'll post about it. So there was a Hulk movie called The Trial of the Incredible Hulk in the 1980s when it was still Lou Ferrigno and Bill Baxter. No,
Bill Bixby.
Bill Bixby, and it's a made-for-TV movie from that era. But it's the first time Daredevil was on TV, I think. And Daredevil's like in a black suit instead of a red suit, and Incredible Hulk guy is minding his business and gets arrested for something that wasn't his fault, of course, and then turns into the Hulk and smashes out of jail. And then Daredevil is his lawyer, and then he goes to court. So it's like a 90-minute movie. We looked it up earlier. You can hork it off the YouTube for free. Anyway, I didn't even know there's like 3 Hulk movies, but that one's cool because it's got the first Daredevil on TV, and Daredevil's running around being Daredevil. It's pretty good. It's just like that Captain America where he pops out the back of the van on a motorcycle. It's like that era.
The Spider-Man.
Yeah. And there's a
He's
scene where
walking
they're
up the wall, but it doesn't sync up with how fast he's moving.
yeah, exactly. There's a scene when they show the jury, and Stan Lee is in the jury.
I think he has a cameo in everything, all the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like even back then, he's standing there like being the jury.
I was thinking about giving away sometime. I have an old SIG MSR which I took off. Thinking about giving it away if people are interested. Maybe if you don't have a red dot and you're kind of curious about them, it works. The battery isn't held down well. I put a little piece of foam in there to shim it, make pressure, and it doesn't have shake awake. But I don't know. I was thinking because I had it just laying around. So I don't know. What does everybody think? Should we give it away at some in a future giveaway or something?
Maybe if you don't want it. I mean,
Up to
somebody
you.
gets use out of it, maybe.
I don't even see DJ popping up in the whatever you call the back room here.
I have optics like that I've accumulated over the years. Like one of the hens will give me something that they got at at something they'd been at and they didn't want it. And I throw them on something every once in a while because you never know.
Oh,
I don't believe in cheater dots, so
Well, I still can't
Maybe.
hear you guys,
hear-
but I think that maybe you can hear me. Like
I
maybe
can
nod
hear
your head.
you,
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
you can hear me, but I can't hear. I've used 2 different sets of headphones now and stuff. I'm sorry to interrupt your broadcast, but I'll try and figure this out another time and enjoy the conversation from the text side. Everybody be cool.
well, at least we can hear you. That's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Made progress.
fake.
Incremental progress. I forgot the banner. Let me get the banner going. At the bottom of the screen is an email address, untactfulthoughts@gmail.com, and a link for the Discord server. You can send in comments, suggestions, or pictures within reason. You can get a hold of me there pretty much anytime, and most of the people that come on the chat, you can get a hold of them through Discord too.
Yep. The cool kids are on the Discord.
Live on Discord. I basically spend all my time flipping between a Discord screen and a Facebook screen.
I pretty much will have Discord open. That way, if I ever get notifications or somebody asks me something,
My problem with Discord for that is that if I leave it open, it takes my mic and shit. So if I do anything else that needs my mic or camera, it's a conflict. So I'd just rather keep it closed. I only open
Really?
it when I need to.
Uh, uh,
I
on
just
the other
happen to
computer, it's not.
different stream things, I guess, or listen to things. Like there's some meetings that I joined that are in streaming things that I don't even need my mic and shit, but they need my mic to join type of thing. And that's where it's a nuisance, where it's like, damn, I don't even need my mic just to listen to this, but I have to disconnect from Discord to do it.
Oh, yeah, because I've got it open now, but I don't let it use my mic because I don't do.
Oh, well, that's the thing. We use Discord quite a bit for chatting in there.
Basically anything I would do to chat will just be a one-on-one. So I'll either do StreamYard or, I tell somebody, hey, come in here.
No, I get you. It's not like I like the Discord chat. It's just that people use it, so I have to use it.
Yeah, we ended up moving to that as a collaboration tool after some other things went away. And although
Yeah.
it's not the best in the world, it seems to serve the needs of what we're using it for. So, and I've heard of other people doing the same thing with Discord.
Yeah,
Rather
it's
than
pretty much
using it as a
for.
game server or anything, they just use it for collaboration and community more than anything else.
As a perk for their membership systems and shit. It is good for that.
Yeah, except my membership. Oh, they'll join a server, but then they never come back.
I mean, I wouldn't use it either, except for that we use it for shit. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't like it, but because otherwise you have to have a room like this open all the time, and that's really not practical. I
Well,
guess
YouTube has given us so many things, the ability to post stuff out on your community pages. So a lot of what you would have used a Discord server for is no longer necessary.
So did you notice they don't call it community anymore? Now
Yeah,
it's
I
called.
noticed they changed the name of it. That's like, what happened to my community tab?
It drove me nuts for a minute there until I figured it.
Oh, Discord is great for sharing slightly amusing memes that nobody else thinks is funny.
Oh no, I like the whole concept of it. It's just that it's a bit of a spyware, and well, my big issue is that they don't give me any public side, and that they still haven't changed that, right? Like you still can't. Like that was the big thing about Gilded or whatever. And I put a lot
really
of time
like
into my Gilded. Yeah, I did.
Um, you could do a lot with Gilded. I really liked it. I just didn't once they required that Roblox account. I wasn't gonna do it. Wasn't gonna require people to do it. Vulcan Rumble said I should look at the Caliber Exchange Kit. I have kind of looked at those. Yeah,
Is that for your modular gun?
yeah. He says he's not cool. I think you're cool. You're cool to me.
Go outside today, you'd probably be pretty cool. Are you all still experiencing cold?
Yeah, we got our first bit of snow. It was kind of wet, dusting, and then it melted. It's supposed to snow tonight and then a little bit tomorrow, but I don't think it'll accumulate.
We're getting 86 on Tuesday. We're getting out of the cold again.
Yeah, it's 33 right now.
Looks like our lows coming up will be in the 40s, so hopefully the fucking cold is gone right here.
Oh, yeah, it's snowing. Looking at the driveway camera. There's snow on my car. Where's
Ours
the
finally
throttle
all
reading
got
thing?
melted off.
Vulcan Rumble, according to the guys at 6 Hour Experience, 357, 40 ammo are both out of production. 45 ACP is the only available in compact size, no carry or full size. DJ said we had a seasonably warm winter, almost devoid of snow. Tomorrow it's supposed to be 64 degrees. We're used to being in the teens and at least some snow on the ground in February.
It would have to be SIG because SIG doesn't make anything in 357 Magnum, do they? They don't make a lever action
No.
yet.
Oh, you can put a full size on the carry, full size slide on the carry.
Yeah, you can. Might hang
I
off a
kind of
little
like
bit.
the look of it. But I don't know. That's kind of down the road because it'll be $300-400 for the slide.
Yeah, if there's a lot of companies make them, you can.
They, yeah. I did. So far, I've ordered magazines. I ordered 2 magazines, but I need to change the base plates because they have the standard base plate, and I need the flush to
Oh,
work with the X frame. And magazine release. The X10 came with one, and the X Carry did not. So I ordered that, and I ordered a Magwell for the X Carry. I went with one that's really thin. I didn't want the big, you know, basically solo cup on the bottom of my gun. So one just to kind of finish out the bottom, make it look nice.
gonna say with the money you're spending on it, you might as well build an X10. But yeah,
Well, because I've got two FCUs, I probably will build that X10. The full size X Carry and the X10, they're almost identical. Comparing the frames, there's just some minor differences, but the magazine well is larger. The opening looks the same, so when you look at them, they look the same. But when I put the magazine in the X10, the compact magazine in the X10, you can see that the inner diameter is larger than the inner diameter of the X Carry, which you don't really notice when you're just looking at them because the outer diameter is approximately the same. Because I was thinking, well, if these frames are identical, I could do a 10 millimeter X Carry, but you can't because the magazine won't fit. Ozzy has an X10.
I used to.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And X10 Legion. Yeah.
Ooh. Why'd you get rid of it?
Too heavy for me.
No.
I didn't like shooting it.
What?
After you shot like a mag or two, it's like your arms didn't want to hold the thing up anymore. Eh.
You just got to shoot it more. Build up those X10 muscles. No pain, no gain.
Well, they put extra weight in those grip modules. Makes for a pretty heavy gun.
Yeah, I did. Oh, I did buy the the X carry and the X10 use different weights because they've got the round stock, and then there's one that's kind of I don't know how to describe the shape, but there's a set that's it's like one large tungsten rod and then two smaller rods,
Mm-hmm.
and the now I forget which one uses which. I think the X10 frame I have has two slots for the rods, and then the other one has kind of the longer, or not longer, but the wider slot for tungsten weight. It's a different shape than the rods. If I bought some of the rods, I haven't bought the other one yet. But yeah, here I'll show the kind of oblongish SIG weight. It's kind of that shape rather than being a rod.
So that just going in the hollow behind the magazine?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, well, here let me call up the. I've got pictures of it on the Discord. Um,
I feel like you could just jam a bunch of pennies in there, get the same thing for a couple of cents.
Might jingle a little bit.
Glue them.
so let's see if this might be a little small. I can't make it bigger, unfortunately. But down in here, see, there's two round holes, and that's for the rods, and then kind of the oblong.
Oh, okay.
And I think the oblong is the X carry, and then this one's the X10. Or, sorry, I got my cursor on the wrong screen. So this one is the carry, and then this one's the X10. But the overall, the frames are pretty much the same. Beaver tail is slightly different. It's a little longer on the X carry. The weights are different. The inner diameter of the magazine wells are different. That's the major difference between the two. But the length is the same. The width is the same. They feel pretty much the same. I think the X10, the molded in magazine well is a little larger. I mean, just slightly. but pretty much the same. And it's just another shot. But yeah, they kind of look the same. Yeah, here see this diameter here is why I thought they were the same, because they look about the same, but down inside, one is larger than the other.
These are two different brands or something? Two different
No,
companies?
they're both SIGs.
Made by SIG?
Yeah. It's just they're different models. One's the X10 is 45 and 10 millimeter. The X Carry is 9, 40, and 357 SIG.
Oh, okay. Well, one they have to make out of real material. The other one they can make out of paper mache.
But
the 9 millimeter one can be just made out of toilet paper and white glue. Elmer's glue.
Just don't get it wet.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't get it wet. 9 millimeter people never go outside when it's raining.
That's true.
They're too sweet. They would dissolve in the rain, so they don't even go out.
let me get that closed down.
I like the concept of these like fire control unit guns, but the reality of them is the nuances between them is so slight that
Yeah.
like a whole nother thing to worry about that I don't think needs to be worried about.
Like I said, it was just something I got a wild hair and decided to do one, and then apparently I deep down inside wanted to do two of them. Oh, I don't think you were here when I was telling Gary when I went to do the 4473. The guy at the shop is like, "Well, do you want to buy two of them?" And they had one that was $50 cheaper, and I ended up buying a second one after I swore at the guy.
Why was it cheaper? Broken or something?
It was a consignment. So for whatever reason, somebody didn't want theirs and was selling it. So I bought it.
You got new laws coming or something?
Well, we've got those three that I mentioned.
I missed that.
Purchase permit, the ammo limit, purchase limit, and the safe storage stuff.
It's like you're the abused victim of a bully that's mad about what happened on the other side of the country.
Yeah, and it's all, to keep everybody safer and to somehow stop crime.
Well, they figured out that they can bully y'all, that they can push you around, and that they can do it. Like you haven't been able to fight back. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Democrats have a super majority in the state, so they've stopped caring about what the opinions of anybody. They're just doing what they want to do.
This is where I would rant that our national level organizations only know how to do lawsuits, so they're essentially useless when it comes to swaying public opinion, which they potentially have the power and the reach to be able to influence, but they don't even attempt it. And it sucks even worse when the Second Amendment Foundation lives in your state. And they have no idea, they have no clue how to be in touch with the rest of the gun owners. Like, they're so out of touch, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it has been nice that in the last couple of years, some of them have shown up for the hearings. NSSF and
That's how we
NRA
know.
NRA is always there, but it's it's nice to see that they show up for that, but it, it's almost too late.
Right. It's just offering support at the last minute to the one thing that they know how to offer support to because that's the only muscle they got.
But yeah, it's yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. You know, this is where I'm going to be for a while. So I'm trying
Stuff
to
will
do
swing back the other way. It'll just, like I say, it'll take awareness and education, and it'll just be a minute, I guess, until we can figure out how to do that. Once we've done that, it's over, though. I'm confident that we'll eventually win our position to the middle of the country that doesn't care, and they'll go leave gun owners alone already.
it. Yeah, I mean for us in Washington, and then states in a similar position, it's hard to see past what's going on here, but the I'm not sure if it was you. It might have been you and Tony talking. How the Overton window has shifted for gun ownership. It shifted in a good direction.
Right. Unintentionally, not like we wanted it to and we called our shot and we moved it, but we did move it accidentally. And I think that muscle got exercised inadvertently, and we'll figure out how to actually exercise the muscle, and then we win.
And for states like Washington, for us, we're on the fringe where they're lashing out.
Yeah, exactly. There's really only you, Colorado, Massachusetts right now that's getting wailed on. Illinois, but Illinois has been wailed on for a long time, so it's hard to. You don't have to include Illinois, I don't think, but you could. But I think it's Massachusetts, Nevada, no, not Nevada, Colorado, and you are, a little bit Oregon, but you really, Oregon tried and they resisted, I guess. Technically at the last minute a little bit, but you guys have been just wailed on. Not as bad as Massachusetts, but close.
So for me, yes, it's easy to get down because of what's going on, but in the overall scheme for the country, it has moved in a good direction. And our state is just being dragged kicking and screaming. Vulcan Rumble. Well, the truth is that except for Glock, none of them were wide enough for a steel reinforced polymer mag. Even Magpul failed to make one.
That's too bad. That's the nice thing about Glocks is they're amazing magazines.
And Mr. Bob Dabalina, there needs to be consequences for lawmakers for implementing unconstitutional laws, loss of position, and retirement, if not jail. I'm not sure how to make that happen.
You think that's something that Trump will push for, though?
I don't know.
President Elon?
I think it's kind of politically, it's a little bit of a dangerous position to take because it can look like if you jail somebody, another politician, it can end up looking to the people like you're jailing your political opponents. I'm not saying whether legally correct or not correct. It's just politically, it can have a bad look. So I don't know if he would do that or not.
In reality, though, president can't do shit about this. President can follow through, but the law has to come from Congress. So Congress would have to make a thing against themselves, and that would be good, but it's not likely, I guess is what I say, right?
So I'm not sure.
But we'll see. I still say that they've really strained the relationship between the constituents and them with as much shenanigans and bullshit as they've done. And for whatever reason, people were like, well, that's the way politicians are for a long time. But I'm hoping that the new generation of kids will go, fuck all that. It doesn't have to be that way, and it's not going to be that way anymore. And they'll get in, they'll run for office and then bring up that kind of stuff when, as young representatives, before they become, fallen prey to all the mechanisms that get politicians to turn corrupt and bad. Like hopefully we'll see enough young new politicians come in that'll make those kind of changes. I guess it'll be how fast these old corrupt ones get out, but they're all kind of the same age. I could see a scenario where they all age out and the new representatives are all voted in as younger and less interested in being part of a corrupt machine.
Ozzy,
that could happen pretty quick,
Lawmakers who vote and sign for unconstitutional laws should pay court costs instead of taxpayers. And Mr. Bob, they all take an oath to defend the Constitution but fail to follow through with that oath.
Well, definitely some of them hate the Constitution, so they don't. What's the word? Like they'll say whatever they need to say, but they don't care. You know what I mean? Like they don't have.
Yeah, there was a state representative in Washington who I've talked about this before, who said in an interview that the constitutionality is in the eye of the beholder.
And I'm okay with that. I mean, we don't want to have some kind of system where like you have to be on our side before you can be a representative. That's bullshit. Like let any kind of ideas go up there so that they can be scrutinized and dismissed as legitimately not useful. But if you squelch everything before it even gets
that was her rationale in defending the assault weapons ban.
I don't care. I mean, like I say, people that hate guns, they should still be able to be representatives and shit. I want to have a simple conversation to show that their opinions are wrong. I don't want to just say your opinions are wrong. You don't get to have it.
No, I find you can hate guns and think they should be banned, but you can't say, well, I don't care what the Constitution is. I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
Right.
And that was her rationale.
But I mean, they should. I mean, you can say like you can still have that opinion and be a representative. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you have to be pro-Constitution to be a representative. Our system wouldn't be very strong if you had to be on board before you got to join. But I'm not a fan of it. But if they want to be anti-Constitution and run for office, fucking do it.
That's
Constitution's going to go away. Just because one or two people hate it.
That's one part of our system that the conservative side, especially, doesn't understand, doesn't agree with. That if the majority of people decided that we want to be communist, they could vote and change the laws, and this could be a communist country.
Definitely,
it's in our system to change how the people want it changed. Through the checks and balances and blah 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 blah. I don't think enough people truly understand how the system is supposed to work. And you can want it to be one way, but the system is set to change if people want it to change. I'm kind of losing the point I was trying to make.
No, I mean, in other words, the system is open and able to disrupt itself, but the reality is that there's never been so many people that went to one side of the boat that it capsized. Like, even though that can happen, it's not likely to happen, and there's no, you know, it's not like that's a tendency. That's just a potential, option of things that could happen. But the only way it could happen is if somebody got there and said everybody has to do this, and then everybody has to vote this way, and then they voted into fascism or something. But we haven't even gotten close to that, really. We go in that direction sometimes, but it doesn't go very far.
No, and that's part of the pendulum swing that you hear people talk about.
Yep, exactly. And the nice thing about a pendulum is that it doesn't just out of nowhere spin out of control. You know what I mean? It always stays within its whatever that's called, like its area that it covers. Like it doesn't ever, it's predictable. It's going to swing back and forth, but in a range. It's not going to just go out of its circle or whatever, out of its circumference.
Mr. Bob said the Constitution is supreme law of the land. There are ways to change the Constitution. If you want to do something that violates constitutional law, change the Constitution via legal means. I agree.
Yep. And on top of that, we've made mistakes, right? Like with prohibition, we changed it, and then we were like, "Oh shit, that didn't work," and then changed it back. Like that's definitely evidence of it's a what's the word? I don't want to say living, but it's an adaptable thing.
Yeah, and you can blame prohibition for the NFA.
I do, and for organized crime.
Yeah. It's every time there's a prohibition on something, it makes it the most popular thing. That I believe, I have not researched it. This is just my belief that the AR-15 is the most popular rifle in the U.S. because it was banned, because semi-autos were banned. Semi-auto rifles. Nobody could get them. That's why everybody wanted them. That's why everybody has them now. And then every time there's a law that's passed, is for Washington. I can speak to Washington because that's where I am. Every time that they've passed a new law, just before it goes into effect, the state gets flooded with whatever they wanted to ban. So there are now more of the thing that they didn't want in their state. And then if and when these laws get overturned, there'll be even more of those things they didn't want. If they hadn't touched them, it wouldn't, they would not propagate like they do.
I mean, I don't disagree, but I think the AR-15 is unique in that it's modular and the components of it are made by so many different countries, like such a spectrum of companies, but also included in that spectrum is like your people in your garages who can make components even down to triggers and springs and things that are high end or specific. And I think that lends itself. Plus, we tinker with guns a lot. It's like a vehicle in that you spend a person can have just as much enjoyment tinkering with it and getting it ready and adapting it and modifying it as they ever do using the thing. And often you get just as much satisfaction modifying it and then comparing it with other people's rather than actually using it for whatever some people would say its intended purposes. So in that respects, I think the AR just leans into so many things. Like you can customize the shit out of it for looks, but also for operation and use. And then, I mean, you can take an AR-15 and turn it into a 22 and then turn it into a cannon. You know what I mean? Like it's so adaptable. I think it's unique. One of the Glock and the 1911, are examples of the same kind of thing where, like, for whatever reason, those two platforms were glitched onto, and so many companies made stuff for it that, again, like, I need to buy something. Well, if I buy this gun, it's kind of a dead end, but if I buy this gun, there's no limit to what I can screw around with it, and by the time I screw around with it enough, I'll have so many parts laying on the ground that I can make another gun out of it. I think that part of the AR meant it was destined to be the most popular rifle because of that. Maybe like the 1022 is the same way, the Ruger 1022. Like it's popular, but the popularity went gangbusters once all this secondary market stuff came.
Vulcan Rumble said, if you're not following the NFL rulebook, you're not playing football. Well, that's unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're not following MLB rulebook, you're not playing baseball. You're playing something else. Ozzy, gerrymandering districts is a tool to unlawful acts. That's something that is basically as long as we've been a country, there's been gerrymandering. Vulcan Rumble, you cannot score a touchdown in a baseball game. You cannot score a home run in a football game.
I think gerrymandering might have been one of the first political things I ever became aware of, because they were talking about it so much on the news all the time. Like one of the first things I questioned and was like, what is all this about? And started, when I first was figuring out stuff, because it's definitely been a thing.
Mr. Bob said, maybe the answer is to have litigation happen before the law is implemented. Instead of violating our rights, prove your law doesn't violate our rights. Part of the problem with that is most of the time you can't litigate unless you've been harmed. So it's hard to take it to the courts if it isn't. I know technically it is affecting you because it's infringing on your rights.
But if they had some sort of theoretical like mock type of situation where it's like, okay, assuming this was law and it was implemented, who could be affected, and then how would you address their concerns, I guess, right? Like, so some sort of a debate in that context, maybe, like, can it go through that qualifier? Like, we're about to make this a law. What is, like, realistically, what are the challenges we're going to see to this? And let's run through those scenarios.
It does.
Before it even
Each
becomes
law will go through that when it goes to the rules committee.
Okay.
It goes to a committee that's supposed to check the legality of that law.
Yeah, it makes sense. As I'm saying, it sounds like something they would do.
But if you don't care if it's legal or if it's constitutional or not, the lawyers that you're paying will just say, yeah, no, you're good. We'll just fight it.
I get the impression too that sometimes the representatives will say shit like, or have either like, I think literally say stuff like, well, who cares? Like, it'll be challenged. Like, this isn't constitutional. And they'll go like, we'll find out if it's constitutional by making it a law and having it challenged by the Supreme Court. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they know good and well that it isn't, but they're gonna, they know there's no consequences essentially. So they know, well, we're going to go ahead and push it through anyway and let somebody else clean up the mess if there's a mess to be made. We know there probably is a mess, but fuck it. We're trying to throw a wrench into the system.
I think it was a month, maybe 2 months ago. There's a anti-gun law that I think Detroit was trying to pass. And somebody said, hey, they brought up, aren't you worried that this is unconstitutional? And I think it was the mayor said, well, we talked to our lawyers, and the lawyers said, bring on the lawsuit. So a lot of times they know that these are unconstitutional and that they'll have their law for as long as the court will allow it to stand, and they're fine with that.
Right, because going back to there's no consequences for them directly for all the pain, misery, cost, and waste of everything that they're about to create.
There are technically consequences built into the system that you can do, but I think it's really hard to do, so nobody ever does it.
Yeah, it would be neat to see a change in culture. Maybe that's the way you say it, like where representatives were held accountable. I don't want to like see some sort of like I don't know, like harassment or terrorism if like, just like like you say, like the Democrats run it. If the Republicans put something up and the Democrats use that sort of system to bully any Republican from ever putting up anything because they can, they have so much majority that they can then persecute the Republican for saying, I shouldn't say Republican because it's connotative. So, like, the party in power can use that majority to then persecute anybody who brings an alternative opinion up to the board, or up to the table. Like, that could be a problem. If it was medium or like 50-50, then no one would be able to like abuse that. But that's the problem if like someone could use that as a weapon.
I mean, the ultimately it should be down to the voters. If the representative, senator, whoever is doing something unconstitutional, it should be voted out. But as most of the country doesn't care about guns, most citizens, U.S. citizens, don't give a shit about guns. They'll think, well, people shouldn't be shot, but they're not gun owners. They're not single issue voters. They don't care about it. So they're not going to get voted out because they vote for an unconstitutional
Are mean to
gun
us.
law.
But that's the same of anything. Like people don't care about, milk. They don't care about, well, maybe abortion is one that a lot of people care about. But you know what I mean? Like a lot of topics that some people care about, other people could care less about.
And I've seen that come up in some of the comments on for the live chats and whatnot, topics that we've talked about, and or videos that I've done about complaining about single issue voters. So it's as we sit here and we talk to each other, we're all gun owners or interested in, not everybody that comes to the chats are even gun owners, but they're interested in guns or their constitutional rights and stuff. But most people don't even know what their constitutional rights are. They don't care. They just, they go to work, they go home, go to the grocery store. That's their life. That's what they care about. It might be different if the cops or the military's out stopping and beating up people. What? On a regular basis, which some people say that happens, but blah 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 blah. Where it affects everybody, but gun laws don't affect everybody. What? Again, crime and that, but it's just not on everybody's radar. And I hate having to parse things like that, but I'm speaking in generalities.
I mean, I think what you say is largely true depending on where you live and the demographics of that area. As you migrate more towards rural America and stuff like that, I'm not sure that holds true.
That could be.
I don't know if you've seen this.
I don't think so.
I don't know if there's audio. I don't know what country this is. I think this is the United States.
No, these tend not to be.
That guy ain't taking no shit though. Like he's shooting at the car that drove away, type of shit.
Yeah, because the ones that you'll see like this from other countries, they'll start shooting and keep shooting. Though they know that something's up, so as soon as the bad guy comes up, they've already got their gun up and they're shooting,
Right.
and then they'll shoot at the bad guys as they're running away, which you'll get prosecuted in the U.S. for doing that.
You probably get prosecuted in those countries too, but they just don't have any concept of where you're supposed to. What's the word? Where you're. What's that called? What's your like the parameters of your not the parameters, but your what the rules are, I guess. Well, that's interesting. You didn't hear the sound on that then?
Just music.
Oh, it did? Okay. It says you're sharing a screen without sharing your system sound. You need to share the whole window.
Yeah, we heard stuff.
So,
Yeah, I heard it.
okay.
Mr. Bob said, "I'd like to know how much tax money is spent by all layers of government defending constitutional laws of any kind." Well, that's one of the problem is the government is has unlimited money to spend.
They run audits on them, but nobody gives a shit of the consequences of the audits. They just go.
And they used to draft laws and pass legislation with the Constitution in mind. Anymore, it's like let's throw it up on a wall and see if anybody will challenge it. Otherwise, we're just going to get away with whatever we get away with. And I think that's what he's addressing. Is how much is this costing us, and what is the redress?
I don't think there was a time when they didn't challenge it. Maybe it's more now, but
seems more.
I think our system has always been the kind where, like, if someone wanted to send something up that was just anti-constitutional, let's say, the system is open. You're allowed to do that. Like you say, like we can change the system by voting on it, but that's how you'd instigate that. Thing is, they don't go very far. But I think nowadays it's more of like, let's challenge the status quo, or let's challenge the Constitution with this dumbass law, and then let's do it again next system, and let's do it again, and let's do it again, and let's do another one, and let's do 2 at a time now. Whereas before it was like once in a while, and it was a big deal, and it was like seen as like, hey, we're going to challenge the status quo, and here's how we're going to do it. But now it's like everybody's doing it all the time, and at all levels. It's just like I don't know if it's a tactic or if it's just something they've fallen into. It's just cool now. It's certainly not. Nobody gives them any shit for it, right? There's no, except for us bitching about it. There's no resistance to it, and they must be getting points on their side for doing it. So it's just a factor of like the culture, maybe. Because think of like
I think it is culture. I think and whereas many years ago that would have been considered foolish or a waste of taxpayers' time. Now nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way of saying it. Like there's just nobody that has that fiscal mindset, right? Or the people that do are outweighed by the people that don't give a shit.
People's attitudes have changed. People's values have changed. People who represent people don't have the same honor system that they may have had. Not that politicians were ever perfect. We know better. But it hasn't always been this ridiculous.
Oh, that's a good point.
I don't think so, anyway.
And I don't think it's like permanently this way. It's just a trend. Like I mean, I don't know enough about politics. It could, but a lot of shit isn't brand new. A lot of shit's been this way. It got this way during the Civil War, let's say, or got this way during one of the wars, or got this way during the Depression. Like there's things that we've seen before at different scale or in different ways because of we have the internet now. But it's not like politicians come up with new shit. They do the same devious shit that other politicians have done.
And it's just like you've always said, and it's always been true. It's our own fault, and it's under our own power to change as long as we have elected officials. Whether you believe that or not, it's true.
Yeah, and like I said, one of the things I get discouraged is that we do have mechanisms like national level organizations that have a focus on an area of interest. For us, it's guns or rights, and those entities just don't realize the power they've got to change culture and to influence society, influence us. Like if gun owners, I don't want to say walk in lockstep, but if we all do something with intent, like we do pretty good at it. So when Cooper came up with the 4 rules of gun safety, it was a pretty good idea, and everybody was like, yeah, you know what, that's pretty good. The NRA took it and incorporated it into them. And when people were exposed to it, they're like, you know what, that's pretty easy. It's a good way to get important safety protocols across to new shooters or new gun owners. Let's do it. You know what I mean? There was no law. There was no, other than just common sense. So we've done it. Like we've changed culture quite a bit. When
Yeah.
semi-autos were introduced, we didn't all start shooting ourselves because we all figured out real quick how to educate each other on how to work these things. It's just that no one has said to us, like slapped us or sat us down and said, hey, you know what, if y'all did this, things would change. And it's seriously that simple, I think.
Yeah, when I watch gun videos and I see people, with their finger up off the trigger and stuff like that, pointing guns in a safe direction, it's like, well, we've come a long ways from 30, 40 years ago. People really do give a rat's about gun safety now.
Seriously, that's a great example, right? Like back in the day, no one gave a shit about that. And now you really are uncomfortable even watching something where somebody doesn't index their trigger finger, because almost everybody does, even if you've never been to training. It's just you've seen everybody else do it, you just start doing it. And yeah, that's a great example of the kind of stuff where if we realize the power that we've got in culture or in our, able to express amongst ourselves and then project that, we'd be done. Well, if we just did some basic shit, like talked about the difference between a gun owner and a criminal effectively to other people, we'd take away the whole argument from the antis. If we figured out a way to get effectively the whole concept of suicide and the 2 out of 3 deaths and all that, this would be over. Like everyone would be trying to fix suicide instead of trying to take away our guns.
Yeah. Because whether we know it or not, we fixed a lot of things on our own. I mean, think of how many lives have been saved because of proper gun handling.
Seriously, dude. And no kids are ever, like, there's hardly any kids having issues anymore. And it's just because back in the old days, nobody cared about guns, so kids could get into trouble. And now everyone's aware of it, and it's hardly ever even an issue. Hardly ever even an issue. But just like cars, I mean, how often do you hear about like horrible car accidents, and how many cars are there? Like we just take for granted that most people are safe around cars, even people that never drive, and even little kids and stuff.
Well, how about drinking and driving? I mean, a fine example of this was last week when we were in Vegas and we were going to go out one night, to a drinking establishment and stuff like that. Nobody thought anything about it. You called Uber and had somebody drive you there. You called Uber and have someone drive you home. You didn't attempt to drive your own vehicle there. That would have been unheard of 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even really, not even that long ago, right? Until designated drivers became a thing, and now it's
it's really easy just to have somebody drive you somewhere. Yeah.
Vulcan Rumble, up here in the northeast corner, we can actually see the state's Marxism enough that they will choose to leave the U.S. and become part of Europe.
Well, there's definitely people that hate whatever enough that they want to see it destroyed, and we should be strong enough to be able to deal with that. I mean, we are, but we should know that we are.
Oh, well, G-Webs.
Oh, is the bracket starting? The surprise bracket that we are having is starting?
No. What, anything you got coming up that you want to let everybody know about?
No. But thanks for hosting.
I appreciate you being here. Gary, how about you?
Well, I've got some videos from SHOT Show on my channel as we speak. There's some range stuff. There's some booth interviews and stuff like that. I'm getting some product reviews out on my channel, so I appreciate the views. If anybody'd like to subscribe, appreciate that too. Um, for my channel members, we have a members only stream on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. where we give away a knife each week. So it's a pretty good deal for members and stuff like that. Also, a chance for us to get together. Then, of course, for everybody is Friday night, Foul Territory, and that's at 9 p.m. Central Time, where we talk about the guns and the Second Amendment. We give stuff away, and then we show your pictures on the screen. So come by and join us. And, of course, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So I think next week we'll we'll give away a red dot. There we go.
Heck yeah.
We'll give that away and maybe give away some other stuff. I'm not sure. I'll have to look around because I'll collect stuff for giveaways and then forget that they're there, and then never give them away. So
Yep.
I'll have to go through and see what I have that I forgot to give away. So we'll give some stuff away, and always some stickers, and we'll give out kind of the newer sparkly sticker.
I've heard that you can get red dot eye, where if you look through a red dot enough with that laser pointing straight into your eyeball, that it'll eventually burn a red dot into your eyeball, and everywhere you look, there'll be a red dot.
Well, that's like a cheat. That way you always have a.
You're saying that's a perk?
DJ's got a good point. It's every second matters.
Oh, yeah. So that's tomorrow. Or no, it's today already, huh?
Today.
Yep.
Second day of every month. I was thinking about doing a thing, but then the reality hit me that I don't have time to do a thing, but I was going to do like a history of every second matters, but so I haven't done that in a while, but I don't think I have time to do it.
Well, there's always next month.
Yep.
That's the nice thing. It happens. There's always a next month. As long as there's time and space, there's a next month. But I appreciate everybody that was out there in the live chat. If you're out there, if you watch this replay, leave a comment. Whatever we talked about, agree with, disagree with. We kind of rambled through a lot of topics, so pick one and leave a comment. And like I said, I think we'll do a giveaway next weekend. We'll give this away, and maybe a knife. So I'll see what knives I've got.
Ooh.
And other than that, I hope everybody has a good rest of the night and go to something